So I'm gonna, David, if you want, I'll read a bit of your bio. I've got it open.
Yeah, sure. Or just pull out
Okay,
some random facts from it. You don't have to read the whole thing.
sure. Okay. David Barnes, of course, founded, organizes, and hosts Spoken Word Paris, running since 2006. He was the prose editor of the Strangers in Paris anthology, Issue.0 magazine, and the Bastille magazine. Grew up in Chelsea. I'm sure some of you know where that is, the English village where Agatha Christie is buried, which was burned to the ground by the French in 1066. And now I understand your email address, David. So he started writing poetry at age of 7, stopped at age 12, and then went through a bunch of stuff you can look at in his bio. And then he started writing poetry again and hasn't stopped since, after a weird mystical peak experience without drugs. Mighty fine. And wandered around Europe for 3 years, settled in Paris because the English language writing scene was so good. Indeed, that's what I loved and stayed there for. He thinks that any poets worth their salt are liars who tell the truth, wise fools, clown anarchists. I love it. All right. So without any further ado, Mr. David Barnes.
Oh, nice to see you all. Good to be back. So I chose the theme because the book is kind of a journey, in the sense that there are poems in this from when I arrived in Paris in 2003, sort of almost up to the present. And I might read one that's not in the book just to bring it right up to the present. I think I shall start with, so I'll start with one that was one of the first poems that I wrote in Paris. Ink is blood that courses through the arteries of the mind, containing all colors within its darkness, flowing in search of light and release to the rhythmic pulse of the heart. Words are shorthand for experience and imagination, a currency of vision and desire exchanged without loss. Words are the seed crystals that drop into the jar that contains the soul and expand into fractal mosaics. They are lights in the dark. Syllables that touch off recollection of other voices, that reignite unmemories in the inaccessible corners of the heart. When I was born, I drank a cup of black ink, and now I bleed words. My mind is full of words and photographs of unreality, and I can see there is a wall of water coming. I know it by the pressure in my ears, by the sound of the shore, by the harmonic vibration of every water molecule in every cell of my body in sympathetic echo. There is a wall of water coming, and it will break in the mind. These tears that trace the outline of my face are only the first brimming over of the flood, the false breaking before the wave comes. So that was one that I wrote right at the beginning, having landed in Paris off the Eurostar, and having this sense, I think, that here I could write, basically. Can you hear a baby crying in the background just a minute ago? No? Okay, we're good then. Right. So next I shall go with a poem about Paris. So Paris, with its babble of con, connard, connasse, its cat hiss of coffee machines in bars full of handshakes, café, croissant, journal at the zinc comptoir, kisses smack the air. Je m'en fous, je m'en fiche. Paris, with its army of accordionists, d'accord, ça suffit maintenant. Paris sailing its seagulls rapidly downstream, its tourists circling Notre Dame. Paris, whose scavengers in Bacteria Alley. Paris, whose Roma do the old gold ring trick. Paris, whose cascade steps from Sacré-Cœur, who dances by numbers but longs to release jazz. Paris, selling cigarettes at Barbès. Paris, pissing in the parks, pissing against trees, against walls, comme une vache qui pisse. Paris, pissing away 3 steps down from the platform in the Interdit Joan of Arc dark. Paris with its back inches from the spark and shriek, its roller coaster trains racting away out of tunnels onto stilts, past 3rd floor windows, above Chinatowns, Senegals, Sri Lankas, Algerias, Moroccos. Paris, who shelters Bangladeshi stowaways after the long voyage in a pounding hull, then sends them out at night to threaten its bars with roses. Paris, whose Paris syndrome just claimed another Japanese tourist, overcome that here too there is ugliness, children sleeping in the trash. Paris, who hums a Django tune and sorts its gypsies like a deck of tourist postcards at Drancy. This one for expulsion, this one for the Tzigan festival, this one to have their home bulldozed. Paris, with your banlieue kids burning cars in their songs. Paris, where are the corpses of the Algerian war protesters you murdered in '61? Paris, whose Africans bind string around the fingers of Montmartre, selling hot maize and sunglasses in Chateau Rouge and whole sackfuls of Eiffel Towers. Paris, with your bars, La Liberté having won for the road before leading the people. Le Bastide with its alcoholic prisoners, Le Fanfaron boasting a B-movie of Vespa wing mirrors and Mexican death, while the 00 sits at the origin of all coordinates. Paris, underground poetry bastion for Les Anglophones, station for these transients on their way to somewhere else, listening with one ear to the transmission of their truths. Oh, Paris, straddling the banks of your poisonous river, my bitter lover who smokes 1,000,000 cigarettes, old lady who shits Giacometti and sleeps in a phone box with 1,000,000 stale baguettes. Do you know that tourists drink from your bullet holes? You wear the stigmata of your revolutions like a discarded saint in a museum of statues. Paris, I'm bored. Go play pétanque. Go drink fake Czech absinthe in the Albanian bar. Go set fire to the bouquinists so they ride up and down the Champs-Élysées on scooters like 1,000 angry wasps. Paris, you look old in the floodlights of the tourist boats. Stop looking back at a past where I can never join you. I don't give 2-man raise for your Hemingway and Ionesco. Paris, don't you know that you are dead? You're in danger of becoming a mechanical corpse, your boulevards hidden behind rolling publicity posters announcing endless exhibitions of yourself, film reels of your own ghosts. Paris, I tell you this only because I love you. It's just that I'm no longer in love with you. It's time for us both to move on. It's for your own good. And anyway, I've been seeing Berlin for a while now. Don't look at me like that, Paris. You must have known. And wasn't it you who said we should see other people? Paris, I'll write, but I'm moving to Montreuil. You taste like 500 euro bills and you never wanted children. Paris, sing me one last Edith Piaf song, the one she was singing when she collapsed on stage that final time. Paris, what would Samuel Beckett say? Paris, I gave you 10 years of my life, sell up. Paris, I love you.
Wow.
Yeah, superb. Yes.
But it kind of needs a bit of updating. It does name check one of David Sirot's old quartiers where he lived in Chateau Rouge. But like, yeah, and it does have some, the Je m'en fous and the Je m'en fiche at the start. It's kind of, it's French, which literally means kind of like, well, it means fuck, what does it mean, Christina? I don't give a fuck?
No.
Yeah, it means I don't give a fuck, but it's like, you can say it in polite society. It's about as offensive as I don't care. So, je m'en fous. Je m'en fiche is I don't care. I'm being corrected by Christina in the background. So I'm gonna read Let's go for a couple of other poems connected to Paris. So this one is about the business district in Paris, which is called La Défense. Can you hear a baby now crying? No.
I don't hear it.
Brilliant. The corporate goldfish, cruel as cornflakes sinking through the cereal bowl, the corporate goldfish circle in the 20-story shark tanks of La Défense. Shoals of scheming fools goldfish, victims of their own motivational seminars, calling one thing another till reality diffuses into the ocean. This is the age of aquariums, and the corporate goldfish food chained to their desks. Their shades are mirrored on the inside. They sharpen their suits, the corporate goldfish. So yeah, I had a job interview the second day I was here, but I didn't end up working there. Thank God. I'm going to switch to reading one of the English poems, as in about my life in England. So there's a section of the book that's about Paris, and there's a section of the book about England, and there's various other sections as well. So I'm going to read a poem called Ritual. Woke to desolation, slight weight in the stomach, loose jaw, inertia. How many times in my teens did I wake to this and mask it, go downstairs to breakfast, streaky bacon or Weetabix, The Guardian's thin newsprint, Dad to my left, sandpaper face, broad back, builder's hands. This, the moment he came in closest, and I weakened my shoulder, softened, or I'd not have felt his touch. Little brother, practicing silent insolence, thinking God knows what. Suicide, I hope, or murder. Mum, en face, orchestrating conversation, drawing a line around what could not be said, pushing it out of sight, blood sunk below the skin. So the body-soul recreates the way we recreated each other for years, fixing to our places. Outside was the frost, the cold green blades, the white plastic lid of sky, and on this side of the glass, warm, cozy death. Aye. And related to that, this one is called Molotov. With the unsaid said, the family skeletons sit smoldering, shadows fused to the sofa. The echoes of afterthoughts stain the air, taste of petrol. Yeah. I think I would like to read, after that, I would like to go with, yeah, there's this one from the England section. I'm moving in to this house with its dark rooms where strangers laugh and sprawl on junked sofas. These marginals, quick to joke, lost to themselves and careless, already half dissolving into the city night. The ghost of my father, full of holes, flows through like a torn sail. Smoke black is the ceiling above Grandad's armchair. The walls bristle with antlers and beast's eyes, and darkness wells up in my stomach. Here, walking in the liquid dark, where the shadows have names, I step on the tiger's tail. Here it is always London, locked in its loneliness, turning in its sleep and reaching to the sub-audible bass beat that pulses the air. I am moving in among these landlocked sailors drifting towards death, and I don't know what lines of theirs I'm crossing, or sure I want what they ask of me. I will swallow Alice's eat me cake, grow big and older to fill up the house. The old despair rises from the carpets. I remember the long retreat as the rooms were shut up, the house darkening into decay, just as now walls brighten in the pool of my torchlight and the beast in the pit of my stomach cries. Wow. So there's those kind of poems, I think they're sort of, I guess, part of my journey through life. And also they make me think of that phrase that it's a curse for a family to have a writer born into it, presumably because they go off and announce all your dirty laundry in public. So pity le pauvre Parisien, sens d'humour excised at birth, but schooled in ridicule, langage distorting the mouth, monkeys with Mick Jagger lips condemned to a permanent pout, with their enunciated phrases from Molière, their superior aristocratic scowls. Who do you think you are, Johnny Holiday? Consider the curse of le pauvre Parisien, thinking themselves thinner at the Café Philo or dodging dog shit in the Place du Cliché. Watch as they set their sharp shoulders and stride directly into opponent pedestrians. They disdain apologies as the mark of fools. Ha! These collisions are not accidents. Ah, suffer les pauvres Parisiens, stuck like flies in their own tourist trap, exposing themselves in art galleries, permitting themselves to dress in any shade of black, suspicious, defending their steam-blasted corners. Pour le vrai Parisien, every joke is mockery, and behind their code of kisses they languish, conjugated by their own contempt. Aye, aye. So yes, the update to that one is that I now have not only a Parisian partner, but also a Parisian, very, very Parisian daughter who was born in the 13th arrondissement. So yeah. I'm gonna go for, so from later in the book, and I will post a link that gives a description of the book and where you can get it, but this is from a later section in the book, and it's called They. They half wrote manifestos on paper soles locked in origami boxes, then turned careerist, careered with rolling eyes, shuddering, a million masked Zorros waiting incognito on the metro platform of the rush hour mind, waiting to become blank as eyeballs lost in a suitcase of marbles. But wait, what had they written, half wrote on paper soles and left locked up, unput into mailboxes? What lost scientific papers to revolutionize theories of the mind? What announcements from those terrifying non-existent art movements, Oblomovism, the Novembrists, the Impuritans? What tracts accusing which bureaucracies of committing unspeakable generosities? Where are they now? but stillborn, scraps of paper in the backs of wallets of dried out husks, once human, flesh thinning like worn suits, making money, making money, making money, while the world goes its merry way to hell. Me as an optimist coming through there. And moving forwards, I want to, again, this one is about, I don't know if you say Shrove Tuesday where you are, but Shrove Tuesday is the English equivalent of Mardi Gras, and it's when we have pancakes. Shrove Tuesday. Pancake day, as was. In Mum's kitchen with the batter and the special flat pan, our pillow fights chased the dark outside, and then we took turns to pour planets and moons, tossed them over and over till we got it right, heated up the jam. That griddle could scare off ghosts. We presented ourselves with our plates, and the priest cook Shrovers absolved us with sugar and from winter set us free. Next, breakfast in America, bottomless mugs of coffee and pancakes a half-inch thick, sponges that soaked in syrup, that tore under their own weight when lifted on the fork, the crust crunchy edged inside, pale seed spaces. They were as big as your spread hand, and no Englishman could eat 3. In diners, Denny's, and the Amtrak dining car, I ate them as the maple syrup darkened their interior until there was just debris, a ruin of a pancake, dregs of sweetness and crumbs. Now, these delicate doilies they call crepe, thin as Parisians, thin as Lent, I scrape the plates with my metal spoon, devour the lacework of fine holes. All this feels like short shrift, and I say, where is Fat Tuesday? Ash Wednesday will arrive like a hangover, like the aftermath of a sugar rush. The grey dawn will filter through the windows, touch its finger to your forehead to bring that dull ache that says, remember, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And if I've got time to do one last one, I will do, not from the book, but available if you email me. So not from the book, because it happened too recently. For Emma, who is now 18 months old, but at this point really was born yesterday. One day old, amid all this brightness and noise and cold, seeking warmth and skin to skin, mouth searching to drink it all in. Knitting the family together just by being born, you rename everyone. Uncle, grandma. Old arguments are irrelevant. Old resentments, who cares now? Breathing fast, like you've swum miles to be here, though your forearms are the size of my thumbs. You've dragged yourself up onto the warm belly of the beach, panting, listening to the waves forever on the shore. Welcome on board, swimmer. What seas did you cross to get here? What strange country did you set out from? It's really nice to be here and come and read the poems, and I will put a link to the description of the book and where you can get it. It's yeah.
Right.